It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
This is the Cosmick Voice. Cosmick Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business with your hosts, Chris Natalini and Mick Michaels. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cosmick Voice. This is Season 7, Episode 25, our season finale. I am here with my co-host, Chris Natalini.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And I am Mick Michaels. Welcome back, everyone, to Season 7's last show. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, brother? What's happening, man? Anything good?
Well, we're season finale. Congratulations to you on yet another record-breaking season.
It's crazy, dude. Amazing. Season 7. You know, I always reflect, when we always talk about what the season finale is going to be and when it's coming up, like, I always kind of reflect on the past season. And this season, a little darker, I feel like, because the industry it's such a crazy time right now. And, we've talked a lot about, not being able to play as much. Some of it by force, because there's nothing we can do about it. Local shows aren't bringing in the numbers that they used to. They get harder and harder to do. So I feel like Season 7, we're here. It's awesome. I'm so proud that we're here again. Another season done. But especially with tonight's context of the show, I think it's apropos for this season and how things have been. Not even on our scene. And, we'll get into it because I was thinking about things I wanted to bring up for today's episode. But even on the bigger national scene, about a lot of people kind of hanging it up and moving on with life.
It's been a time for sure. I think that, in a funny way, this is our most mature season. And I don't know if that's just because, we've reached our maturation. I don't know if that's because, we've gotten into
That's a good word, though.
Yeah, we've gotten into a groove after all this time, or, we found our niche. I think in the earlier seasons, though we talked very blunt about a lot of things relating to our experience and us, I think that we've become more open about our personal feelings towards the scene in general, how the industries run. Not that we spent all this time calling people out or situations out, but we have made a greater effort to shed some light on it, make it more aware. Yeah. Rather than, it's not that we were afraid of anything happening one way or the other, because, really, honestly, but the truth is everybody wants to be even keel, keep things balanced, because at the end of the day, it could affect your career. But I think we got into a position where it's like, if we don't speak up, it's detrimental to the career. When we did our AI episode, I know we had talked about it on and off about, are you worried about what people are going to think or say? And then I thought about it. It's like, nah, man, this is where we're at. This is the industry now. This is what we're doing. And how many people are already doing it? Whether they said it or they didn't.
Yeah.
We did it, or I got involved in it for the show, in a sense. Like I said, why would we talk about something that in depth like we have been if we're not really doing it ourselves? It's more like being an armchair quarterback, which all of us are at some point in our career, in our life. But at the same time, if you're really going to have a strong feeling about it one way or the other, I think you need to experience a little bit of it. That doesn't mean that you've taken it on and this is what you do, but at the same time, as an educational piece, because there is some education, I guess, to this. Not that I would pick myself as the best teacher, but at the same time, we are relaying experiences and methods, models that we have done for years. So there's an education piece to it. So I thought that would be it. But I definitely feel, and I know what you're saying because I do the same thing, reflect. I definitely feel that this has been a very mature season.
I agree. And I think that we have finally, at least me, I can't speak for you, but I think for me, I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm not going to Because in the beginning, I was trying to play fair and I was trying to be, the nice guy, not sound like the bitter old man. But as time has gone on and with season 7 and everything we've been through in the industry, and it just got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to be like super honest. And if people just can't handle it, then it is what it is. But this is my experience. This is how I feel about it. Why do this if we're not going to be at least honest about it, super honest? And you don't have to agree. There are times, I mean, not often, but there have been a few shows that you and I have seen things on a different way or outlook. But I feel that just being honest has just been better anyway. And you and I have kind of, we've been through the ringer at our level when it comes to the industry. And sometimes it's just time to be honest. And so listen, there are bands out there or artists that don't know the insides of the things that we talk about, whether it's streaming. I mean, listen, even a couple of shows that we've done about streaming, you've shown me things and taught me things. I go, oh, I didn't know that. And then not necessarily on the show, but I'm able to talk about that in the real world, outside, talking to friends and people in other bands and say, hey, listen, this is how this works. And you realize how many people don't really know that. Mature is definitely a word. That's a good word for this season. But I think that you and I have also been more honest in this show because maybe that's just the part of being mature, in this stage of the game.
Yeah, again, there's a progression, and I do think that we're more comfortable in our roles and what the objective and goal of the show is. You bring up a great point that there are tons and tons of artists who are unaware, and that's not their fault. But being an artist, and this, you can easily be insulated and in this bubble, right? You can create this world where if it's working for you, even in the smallest capacity, you run with it. Like if you have a following of 5, man, you're working them 5 at every show, so on and so forth. Or if you have a string of venues that you play, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 10, whatever, you make sure that works. And in reality, what happens is we do become isolated and insulated. That we create this bubble around us. I mean, listen, I did it too. I told you, and I talked about it on the show with this band. We started playing a venue more often than I think any of us realized at first until it hit me. It's like, oh my God, we're back here again. Like, we can't do this. We're becoming too comfortable. But I think that musicians, artists become comfortable very quickly. Yeah. And we latch on to that. And we turn a blind eye. We don't look behind us or to the side anymore. We get tunnel vision. I get that. But you're losing sight of the bigger picture, especially if you're trying to continue to move forward, get bigger, because what happens is with that tunnel vision, even though you may think you're focused dead ahead, all of a sudden that roadblock hits you and you're like, where did that come from? Because you're completely unaware, because you're not really looking ahead. You're not looking ahead. So if this show is offering that to people, that's fantastic. I'll be honest with you, it's offered it to me multiple times, and I think I've expressed that on the show. Like, sometimes when I go back and I'm editing the show and I'm like, wow, did we say that? Like, maybe I should take that advice. And I've actually re-implemented models that we've talked about, because, your model's your model, my model's my model, but when we talk about them together, something in between starts to, happen. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is... I'm not saying that I'm doing things like Superman or anything, but like, you can learn if you listen. And sometimes I just need to listen.
Sometimes,
and you'd be amazed at, and it could be just the smallest things. And like you were saying, things have been harder, and I have learned from this past season, in the past year, that it's maybe not the big things right now that you have to focus on or try to make happen, which are always nice, don't get me wrong, but it's small innovations, small changes, small modifications that are making lasting effects, especially, and you and I have talked about this privately, it's a matter of survival right now, right, for a lot of bands. Just staying enough in the mix so you're not 100% forgotten about, 100% out of the game, but just enough that you can keep things going, because we're trying to weather the storm right now. Because none of us know how these things are going to happen, like what's going to turn out. And you said it, local venues are struggling, especially for hard rock and metal acts. If we're struggling nationals are struggling. There's nationals cutting shows out because of low ticket sales. No pre-ticket sales. Prices of tickets are too expensive. So on and so forth. And shows are being cut. Tours are being canceled. I don't think it was this season. I think it was last season. We talked about the soaring prices just a tour. For nationals, it's crazy. So think about regional and local, it's getting difficult. Believe me, we've done some mini excursions this year, which is nothing compared to what we've done in the past. And even that's getting pricey. Like, I'm trying to juggle the finances and saying, okay, guys, this hotel, we're not getting breakfast at because we're trying to whatever. We'll have to just pack some more stuff or, whatever. Or, hey, listen, you know what? After the show, we're not staying within that first couple miles. We're going to drive out a little further because we're trying to balance everything. Or, you know what? The one show, I drove from the one city to the next city because it was only about a 2.5 hour drive. We're going to do it tonight, save us the time. We can take the back roads, skip over any tolls. It'll be much quicker. And we'll stay at a hotel there because the cost of living was different. These are musicians and artists. We don't run around with calculators and ledger sheets, but that's what you're trying to do is you're trying to balance out everything. Yep. It's a crazy thing.
Hey, this is Billy Childs from Brittany Fox, and you're listening to the Cosmick Voice.
On a positive note, here we are, the end of season 7, very excited. This season went quick. I know we say that every year, but we were actually planning an extended season, but we kind of coupled a few shows together theme-wise or topic-wise. Here we are, man. I'm looking forward to the long hiatus, though. I'll tell you what, looking forward to the long hiatus.
Summertime, baby. Here we are.
That's right.
Summertime.
Here we are. It's always the best. No surprise shows this summer like last year.
No.
The numbers were up and down this season, but we got our numbers for the syndicated show on Wild Dog Radio, and it's doing well. It's doing really well.
Yeah,
so
I'm excited about that.
If you're listening here and there, thank you so much. It's kind of exciting to see those numbers. But as summer rolls in here on the East Coast, I'm sure some numbers will probably dip a little bit because, as somebody once said to me, everybody's at the shore during the summer. And I always said, well, I'm not, but
I'm not.
so I guess there are people that do. So what you got planned for the hiatus? Anything?
Not being depressed about the industry.
Well, good luck, bud. Good luck.
No, man, nothing. At this stage in the game, at the time of recording this, there's a hiatus in both bands. But hopefully this summer, my one band is looking up. My guitar player is getting over some surgery, and we're going to be auditioning some new members. So hopefully this summer, we'll be getting back on track. And hopefully, looking forward to 2026, winter of 2025, to finally get back into the swing of things.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, man, but that's it. Got some nice summer concerts this year, and, not as many as last year. Not many people are coming around, which, we'll probably get into in this episode. But the summer concerts are a little light this year. A lot of, if you remember last season, I talked a lot about going to see these legend bands. A lot of them were coming through and playing outside venues. But this year, not many. Not so many. I do have a couple legend artists on my bucket list for this year for summertime. But not as many as in the past. So we'll see. I feel like in our area, the waterfront, Camden, the place in Camden at the waterfront, I feel like is a little light this year with summer concerts. But whatever, it's okay. Summertime. I'll enjoy the sunshine. Maybe can make a couple trips to the shore.
That's the way to do it.
How about you? Yeah, man. How about you?
We have a couple shows set up for the summer. Nothing heavy. Like I said, staying active. We have some reissue recordings that we're working on along with some new material. We have some new material scheduled to release September 15th. Working on the Hereafter stuff. That should release this summer. So kind of excited about that. We're in the mix down period right now. Things going real well with that. Staying as active as I can. Like I said, I struggled this past winter and all with a lot of eating too much and not exercising as often as I used to.
Yeah, that for sure, for me.
So I'm hoping to kind of get my...
Summer bod back?
Well, I don't know if I've ever had a summer bod, but I just want to be able to feel a little bit more comfortable, A fighting age is a tough thing. You don't realize that. It creeps up on you. It's like, man, I don't understand. I could used to be able to do this before and whatever. But I do want to say an exciting project that's within the Cosmickverse world that's happening. We talked about it on this show a couple seasons ago. It actually started out as a joke and then wound up moving into something a little bit more serious. But we have a book coming out regarding the Philadelphia music scene from the late 70s to the early 90s.
It's going to be awesome.
It's a history account, but it also includes first-hand experience and input from several prominent Philadelphia artists of the time, including our very own Mr. Chris Natalini. But we have guys from Britny Fox and Tease and Heaven's Edge and so on and so forth, and a lot of other local bands, local artists over the time, including some more national artists from the time that have come through during the Cosmick View, the other end of this space station. But I'm excited about it, and there'll be more information. You'll see it. We've already started doing some promo, so I wanted to get that out there. It's been in the works for a couple years now, but we are looking at a summer release, so look forward to that. There's a lot going on.
That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, a lot going on. Parlaying things into a couple different avenues. But, you know, that Philadelphia thing, like I talked about on the show and you and I have talked about, was something I've always wanted to do. There was something magical about it, and it's kind
100%.
of overlooked, especially when you compare it to the LA scene, right? I mean, it's all anybody ever talks about. But for us that didn't experience the LA scene during that time, but we were experiencing the Philadelphia scene, there was something magical going on here.
Yeah.
And I think even to this day, it's still overlooked. And there's people even within that realm that don't believe that it ever really existed. Again, if you're comparing it to the LA scene or something of that capacity. But it's about time that somebody took the reins and did something about it. And I says, well, by golly, I guess I'm going to do it. So we'll see. We'll see how it's received.
Yeah, I agree. I think sometimes, you know, when things are talked about in the 80s era, I think Philly is always overlooked. Maybe that's because this area wasn't completely covered in quote-unquote hair metal bands, where Philly kind of had a harder edge when it came to some of those bands. But I feel that Philly, it was definitely a huge part of the 80s glam metal. When people read the book, they'll find out that even though the Bay Area was the hub of thrash metal, there was definitely some great acts coming out of this area too that have a very big underground name. Unfortunately, bands that just aren't talked about. Yeah, I know that's in the book. So yeah, I think Philly, Jersey, I think we're definitely overlooked when it comes to that time period of music. And it's sad because there were some great bands. You know, obviously some bands made it, some bands didn't, but we're always overlooked. It always comes to Cinderella, Britny Fox, and Bon Jovi, and there's way more than just those three.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The book is called When We Rocked. There is a web page out right now. It's whenwerockedphilly.com. You can check it out. You can see who's going to be in the book. And that's where we're updating all our material so that you'll see when it goes live, when it's available, when pre-orders start. So I'm very excited about it. I really am. I'm humbled by the amount of artist support that we received from it. On the flip side, there was a lot of people that were contacted and spoken with who wanted nothing to do with it. There was just people that don't want to talk about that time anymore for whatever reason. It's behind them. It's in the past. And then, you know, unfortunately, there were people that we just couldn't get in touch with for whatever reason. There were some people we just couldn't find. People didn't have information on where they were at.
Yeah.
But having this opportunity to put it out there, at least as a starting point, you know, of course, you can't cover everything that you want to cover. You'd be researching and writing forever, or you'd have volume after volume. But this is a good place. I feel that this book is going to start. When Chris is ready, he'll probably pick up the reins and do a part 2, part 3, you know, so he'll continue on with it. But you know what I mean? So anyway, I'm excited to announce that. So check it out, whenwerockedphilly.com. You may be surprised. You may be in there. Your band may have been mentioned if you're from the Philly area.
It's not a lie. It's not a lie.
Not a lie. Not a lie.
It's Russ the Boss.
Take it down.
Johnny D from Britny Fox.
This is Stephen Pearcy from Rat, the Rat Bastard. You're listening to the Cosmick Voice.
So with that, we are going to talk about, since how apropos it is that this is the season finale. The topic of the show is what happens when you call it quits? What's next? What happens when you call it quits? What's next? I'm going to Disney World and become a bus driver. What do you think, bud? What happens when you call it quits?
Life happens when you call it quits, bro. You know, it's funny because in this time period that we are in, there are a lot of major artists that have decided to stop working and just kind of enjoy life. And I think that stuff really kind of came to light during the COVID era. And you started to see, when we were coming out of COVID, you started to see these bands get back together and start to tour and start to plan. And there were a lot of guys in bands that were just like, you know, I'm not coming back because, you know, we all realized how much time we spent away from life and family and friends, you know, because we're studio, rehearsing, touring. And when we were home during COVID, because nothing was going on, I think a lot of artists started to realize, wow, you know, my passion has been filled. I'm okay with sitting home. Or maybe my passion isn't filled. Maybe I just don't want to be that busy anymore. And to be honest, like I can really relate now this year because, you know, I've been in 2 bands for the longest time, but both bands are on a hiatus. And the longer it goes, the more comfortable I get of not doing it. Do I miss it? Immensely. I'm emotionally drained from missing it. Like it got to me where I was like, I don't know who I am not doing it. But I understand these guys that go, I just don't want to do it anymore. At the time of recording this, Steve from Exodus, their singer, had put out a press release. He was let go a few months ago. And he came out and said that he had known it was coming and he just didn't want to do it anymore. I think he's 61, 62. He'd been doing it for a long time at a high level because Exodus was, you know, they toured all the time. You know, there were guys in that band that wanted to tour all the time and he just didn't. He didn't want to be on the road 6 weeks, 10 weeks because he got older. He's like, I'm tired of sleeping in a bus bed and I'm tired of doing nothing for 15 hours a day. And, you know, the rest of the time you're on stage. And to him, he was like, you know, he just got married to his longtime girlfriend. He's got grandkids. He's got pets. And he's like, you know, I just, at 61, we'll say 61, because I think he's 61. At 61, I just didn't want to do it anymore at that level. He's like, I don't mind doing, you know, long weekends or little tours for a few days or maybe a week or so. He's like, I just don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to do it at that level. And I think that, especially as we get older, our lives change. Health, because we're getting older, the people around us get older, and unfortunately, life happens, and people just are starting to realize that in their eyes, it's more important for them to kind of hang it up and enjoy the rest of their lives doing what they want to do and not doing what someone else wants them to do. I understand making money. You look at a band like Metallica, who's responsible for a lot of people. But, you know, after they're done this tour, you probably won't see them for a long time, you know, because they've been on such a heavy tour and they'll just go back to their lives. We've talked, you know, plenty during the seasons about Kiss and giving it up. And, you know, their big thing, especially Paul, was like he just didn't want to do it on that level anymore. He just wanted to be with his kids. He wanted to vacation. He wanted to live life because he's been doing it for so long. And even guys like you and I been doing it for 30 plus years. Slowing down, as much as it sucks, there's a part of us, I can't speak for you, but there's a part of me that goes, you know, I'm finding more time to be able to do things that I haven't been able to do. And I get it. I totally understand. So what happens when you give it up? It's really living. It's really putting yourself back in life. And it's hard for some of us. I know it's super hard for me not doing anything, obviously, except for the Hereafter stuff that we just completed. You know, I rode that high for a couple days because I'm finally back in it. I'm putting my passion back into something. But I understand, man. I understand that doing this for so long and your time away, and like you were saying earlier in the show about money and traveling, and a guy like Steve from Zetro, he's complaining about sleeping on a bed in a bus, where you get guys like us that are sleeping at the airport or sleeping in a van, or, you know, we're all sharing a hotel room. So it's hard. It's hard on all levels to be on the road. I think our culture now in 2025 has really changed since COVID, where we as a people are more about enjoying the little things in life. Like, really, I know we've always said it, but I feel like we're putting more stock into that saying, living life, enjoying life, because if the pandemic showed us anything, that everything could be taken away in a heartbeat. And that's exactly what happened. No matter what your belief of COVID is, the world shut down. I mean, it just shut down. So I think that coming out of that, I think COVID made people realize that, hey man, like, it could end in a flash. So let's live life and do the things that we want to do. We all have passion. We all have, that's why we do the show. That's why people listen to the show, because they're passionate about music. But I understand it. I get that fact of going, I just can't, like, this is it. Like, I just want to live life. I want to be with my people. I want to be with my family. I want to be with my dogs or cats or whatever, fish, whatever you have. So I get it. I understand that thought process because I'm actually living it right now. As much as I miss it, as much as I can't figure out how to navigate through life without it, I understand the thought process of the people that go, I just don't want to do it anymore. Like, I'm done. You know, and I'm referring to people that just quit, not necessarily people that just stop playing. Well, I guess that's kind of quitting too, really. I guess if you look at guys like Paul Stanley, I think just kind of, you know, Tom from Slayer and all these artists are just like, yeah, you know, I'm kind of done with this.
Guys like on that level, like say like Paul Stanley, they've experienced it at such a high level, there isn't really much higher they can go. I mean, honestly, think about it, right? Unless they're performing in space, that type of thing. I mean, literally, figuratively. So it makes sense. And he made enough money that he can. There's a lot of artists that are still playing because they have no other choice. Yeah. Playing at least is making them a living. Doesn't mean that they're putting away for the future. They're making a living. Right. So there's all that. Going to the topic, listen, the truth of the matter is there's an expiration date on everything, right? We talked about this, I think, before on the show. Like, you know, we're going to expire. It's just a matter of fact, a matter of life. And that choice, whether you're going to go to the very end or you're going to switch gears, you know, that's a personal choice. I mean, it shouldn't be looked at as one way or the other. I mean, for fans, it does kind of stink when an artist goes, that's it, I'm done, I'm retiring. But, you know, in this day and age, we've heard a lot of guys retire and then they've come back and, you know. But I do think that there's a certain age that people do reach and they go, hey, that's the end of it. Yeah. I mean, case in point, like Sean Connery, he did one last movie and that was it. He stopped doing movies. He was doing some artwork and stuff. Same with Gene Hackman, who we just lost in the last few months. He had retired. But again, these guys, these were top-notch actors at the top of their... How much higher were they going to go? Yeah. Right?
You know what, too, Mick? Not to interrupt you, too. I just wanted to get this thought out. I feel that also, too, like, musicians, even at our level, a lot of them... And this is a general statement. This isn't necessarily for everybody, because I know everybody's different. But in my experience, in my personal experience, I find that artists, musicians just don't want to put in the work that it takes to push forward a band, right? Like I'm finding that a lot. They don't want to put the time in. They want to just play when they want to. They don't want to make those sacrifices anymore. And I also think that that is a correlation to COVID too, which I also wonder if that's why this tribute band, cover band, whatever you want to call it, wave has expanded into, you know, something that's has just blown up. I don't want to talk ill about people that play that kind of stuff, but they don't want to put the work into writing original material, working on original material, where they could sit home and they could learn Van Halen stuff, and then they could just get together once a week just to make sure everything's tight and then go play a show. Where guys like you and I, we have to rehearse once, twice a week because we're honing the craft, we're constructing, we're creating. So I'm wondering if that correlation of people that just don't do it anymore is because they just don't want to spend the time honing their craft. They just want to pick up their guitar, drumsticks, whatever, and just play the Kid Rock. And they already know the material. They already can find it. They already can play it, get together once, and then go, okay, we're going to go play a show. They're not taking a loss of money. It's just a little bit of time. The show will be worth it because there's going to be people there. You know, I wonder if that too, like a lot of our talking about this, about, you know, what happens next. If I wonder if that has a lot to do with people that just don't want to spend the time creating something that is their own. We as people, we don't have the time because we're so busy in life. What do you think?
We've talked about this before. Like, the music business is a young person's game in terms of energy and what maybe everybody's looking for, that fresh face. We talked about, I don't know if it was this season or the end of last season, about, I was told about how older bands were being phased out. Older bands have been around for a number of years or up in age or a combination of both. Because I've seen some younger bands that are still younger, but they've been around a number of years. They're still kind of in the mix. There's a cutoff. There's a cutoff time, in a sense, how you're treated and or responded to from the audience. But I do think that everybody wants turnkey, right? Businesses, for the longest time. In the 90s, everybody was selling franchises because it was a turnkey business. That was the catchphrase, turnkey. You do less for more type of thing. And cover and tribute bands offer that for a lot of people who want to continue to play, don't want to put the time in, the energy. And you're right, there is so much time that needs to be given when you're creating your own material. Listen, there are people that can write songs, but that doesn't mean that they're good. Sure, good is subjective, but I've definitely heard bands out there that don't have a grasp on arranging or how a song should flow or where the melody is or, the hook and so on and so forth. I've always said, I don't have a problem writing. My problem is stopping writing, but that doesn't mean everything I write is top shelf. You have to work through it to really decide, hey, this isn't, there's some things right off the gate you go, that's just, I'm not going to do that. But then you'll spend time on things and think you have something, and then at the end you go, nah, that doesn't even come close to what I'm doing. And it just gets scrapped or it gets reconstructed. It's like everything's chopped up, start again, I only like this part, so now I'm building everything, whatever. Playing someone else's music that's already been established, already has a following, already has popularity. Well, man, and there you go for a musician. That's turnkey. And now that venues and audiences fully accept it, just in the last 2 years, the rise of Metallica tribute bands has gone out the roof. This is a band that's still around, and people are flocking to see these tribute bands. I mean, I've opened up for a few of them. I mean, they're good, don't get me wrong. I mean, some do specific eras, Master of the Puppets era and so on and so forth. I'll give you an example. I recently played a show. We had an hour set to play. It wasn't our normal venue, our normal crowd, so we had to alter our set a little bit. We pulled out some of the heavier songs that we consider heavier. We toned down some of the other songs by changing the tempo a little bit. We brought some songs that have a little bit more hard rock feel that we don't play as often. We brought them back. And we played 2 cover songs. The cover songs, though, were alternates in the event that we needed them. They weren't on the full set list. They were at the bottom as alternates, and I told our singer, I said, let's feel out the crowd. Let's see how the night goes. If they're not responding to our stuff, because we would be considered heavier on the bill than, say, the other acts, then maybe we throw these in. If not, then we don't. All
right.
Well, I mean, midway set, we stuck a cover. It just called for it, and it worked. I mean, our songs were being well received, and we figured, let's hook them a little bit more. Because really, for an original band like us that doesn't do covers all the time, have dabbled with them in the last couple of years, you want them more as a transitional piece, especially in longer sets. It keeps the crowd engaged. To use those to sell our material. And that's what we did. We did the song. People went crazy. I'm still playing it going, man, I don't understand. This band's still around. We're doing a rendering of it. It's cool, but it's not the original song. People were going nuts. But it helped us for the next set of original songs. People seemed to get even more enthused about what we were doing. We decided that the second to last song would be another cover, and then we'd finish off with our material. And we've done this before, and to me, I think it works pretty well. You hook them one last time. And it worked. It worked that we were actually able to do 2 encores, which we didn't plan for, but we were able to cover the time. So I understand why people do it. I do. I've said it from the very beginning. It's not something that I want to do because I like the creative process. But I know this is a long way around it. It is an easy thing to do. When you're tired of all the promoting, no one listening, no one coming out, all the money spent on recording and touring and buying equipment and lineup changes and the lack of dedication, because it's a lot. When you could go, hey, you know what? I'll play these 10 songs. They're the same 10 songs. Every so often we throw in another one. The venues give us shots to play.
Yeah.
People come out. We don't even have to really... All we got to do is at least stay in time, maybe be tuned, and the people are going to come out and listen to us. And like we talked about in some other shows, it's not even about the set list anymore. Because I'm seeing bands play some obscure stuff. It's just that you got to say, hey, I'm doing a cover band set or I'm doing a tribute act set, and people will come out. I mean, nowadays you see it. They're mixing tribute acts. Like there's that Bon Journey type of, like they're doing Bon Jovi and Journey, and then there's...
It's funny, I just saw that, yeah.
I seen there's a Black Crowes and Rolling Stones tribute band. They do this thing, you know? And they seem to actually draw more than someone who's doing a straight, like, unless you're doing something really, like, you know, like some of those Led Zeppelin bands, unless you're doing something that's really kind of honed in on, especially a band that you're not seeing, is not available out there, even though I just recently read that there may be next year a new Led Zeppelin album coming out. I don't know if it's brand new material or material that's been sitting on a deck somewhere. Who knows? We'll see what happens, but that would be interesting. I'm sure the cover bands will go crazy from there.
Yeah, you know that.
You are listening to the Cosmick Voice with your hosts, Chris Natalini and Mick Michaels.
But is that something that I plan to do when it's all over? No, I don't think so. I've talked about this before. I think when I'm done, I'm done. That's it. I'm walking away because I can't do it partially. It's a problem for me. Like, I can't just do it to noodle around. Like, I never did it, and maybe this is part of my problem, I never did it just for fun or kicks. That's not why I did it. I wasn't in party bands. I didn't go for the drinking. I don't like hanging out in bars, you know, that kind of thing. That's just not my bag.
Yeah.
To me, this was a serious thing. Did I enjoy it? Yeah, I enjoyed it. It fulfilled something in me, the creative process. But I think for me, when it's over, it's done, Johnny. It's done.
Done.
I'm going to move into something else or do nothing. I agree with you. Like, COVID opened up people's eyes that, like, you know, hey, maybe I'm burning it at both ends for no reason. And I've learned myself after coming out of the COVID that there were things that I was spending time on that just was a complete waste of time. It was a complete waste of my time.
Too, yeah.
And so I don't do it anymore. Just the other day, I was complaining to myself and then to my wife that, like, I'm tired of all the promo that has to be done. It's not effective. There's no lift from the promo anymore. But you have to keep doing it in the event that it does help some degree.
Yep. Yeah.
Social media promo, and I know we did a show on it this season, and we were both kind of on opposite ends with it. I think it's a waste of time anymore. Nobody's seen it. It's all noise. People just scroll by so fast. Watch yourself when you're scrolling. You're scrolling pretty fast. You're scrolling pretty fast, man.
Yep.
You're skipping over stuff. How many times you actually like stuff? I've actually forced myself in the last couple months to like things so that my algorithms would change. I know that's a horrible thing to say, but at the same time, it's like, you know, I mean, I would enjoy a meme or a video or something, and I just wouldn't bother liking it. I mean, what's the point? Now I'm like, oh, okay. The idea now is, you know, somebody took the time to do that. I like it. If I spent more than a half a second on it, yeah, okay, I like it. Why not, you know? I'm not getting into all the different emojis and stuff like that, but, you know, just a boom. That's good. You know what I mean? You know, I mean, listen, it's tough. I mean, for everybody. But, you know, here's the other thing that I've noticed. I mean, we're 5 years past COVID. I know people are tired of hearing about it and all, but there is a different vibe now out in the scene. There's not an urgency the same way. The competition is way different. Bands have isolated themselves where they don't necessarily get involved with other bands. But I've also seen that the professionalism has dropped. because people just don't care.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I've watched bands, they get up on stage, the setup, they're taking forever, they do their set, they take forever to get off. Now, there's two things to that. There's inexperience. There may be three things. There's I don't care. The other thing that I'm seeing is that the people in charge don't care either.
Yeah.
They give you lip service, but they don't do anything about it. It's a lot of talk and no walk. A lot of sizzle and no steak. You know what I'm saying? And it makes it harder, in my opinion, for the bands that aren't there just as weekend warriors, or the bands that aren't there just filling in, I got nothing to do this weekend, or, you know, whatever. My wife's out of town and let me just hang with the guys. There are bands out there still that's not the goal. The goal is to write, record, share the music, make an impact, move up the ladder. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some people will look at that like, well, you know, who do you think you are and what this, that. You got to have goals to strive for things. And listen, at the end of the day, if your goal is, I want to walk away from all this because I want to experience something else, I totally get it. Sleeping in a van or in the front seat of a car at a rest stop in Germany is not something that I want to do every day.
Right.
You know, sleeping in a hotel with 5 other guys, though we all have a system at this point, it's not something I always want to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, you're running out of towels and the air condition doesn't work and you bring in your singer's fan. It sounds like you're sleeping in a air hanger all night, you know, and that crazy stuff, you know. And I'm in my mid-50s, and I'm doing that still. I'm still doing that. Travel for leisure anymore is not an easy task. Traveling with a band, whether you're traveling in a van, in an SUV, in a little Toyota, in a trailer, a bus, it's tough, man. It's tough.
It is.
So when you reach a certain age and you go, you know what, I'm done. So you spend 3 days on the road. At this age, your back's killing you. And then you're lugging equipment around, up and down steps. We were in a show in Pittsburgh, and the bands played on the second floor. And, like, this wasn't an average, like, in your house second floor. Like, these steps went on and on and on. I'm like, oh, my God, is there, like, a lift system or something? I go, can we throw some ropes out of the front window and tie some? I go, this is crazy. I'm too old for this, man. It was like a mile-long set of steps. Oh, man. So I get it, man. I get it. You don't want to sleep in a bus on a hard mattress anymore? Yeah, I get it.
I get it.
I get it.
I get it.
But for some guys, right, the thing is okay, and I know plenty of them. I know some top-rated musicians that I've worked with, that I've studied with, that are my mentors. They got out of the original scene a number of years ago. They're like, I'm done with this. They're either doing high-end tribute cover band type stuff. You know, there's a high-end scene now for certain bands. And then there's that, you know, your local and regional thing. But this guy's, he's touring nationally with these bands. Or he's doing, when he's not doing that, he's doing quartets and more orchestral type setups. And again, that's somebody else's music, but you're performing. The original scene, man, some of these guys are worn out from it. They spent years doing it with the same gripes that you and I made a show about.
I think that also goes to, you know, you had made a comment about, you know, with the book coming out, you know, there were guys that just didn't want to get involved. They just didn't want to relive those moments. And that's a thing, too. You know, sometimes these guys or girls, you know, sometimes they're either just burnt out, don't want to relive those moments, or so bitter about, you know, something. It's like a whole nother life. They lived it and they're over it and it's gone and they haven't done it for all that time. And, you know, that's a thing, too, man. That's a thing, too.
Musicians, actors, you know, these guys that go to these conventions, some of these people have not acted since like a show in the 70s. And 100%. As fans, we keep that stuff alive forever. They moved on, went to college, got married, had 65 children, got divorced, got remarried. They lost people in their life. They got a new career. They became an accountant, opened up hotels someplace. They're not even thinking, oh, my God, that's right, I did a show in 1974 that these people are still holding on to. Guys, it was a show, and it was a horrible show because it was canceled. You know, same thing with certain musicians. You're absolutely right. You're talking, like, for the era of the book, you're talking 45, 50 years ago. Within that 40 and 50 year spot, some of those people had moved on to maybe even bigger and better things in terms of life. Just becoming a rock star doesn't mean that it's the end-all, be-all stuff.
Right, right.
I mean, there was that guy in MASH. I forget. He left MASH, and then he went on and he became like a financial investor or something like that. Never acted again, but made more money on Wall Street.
Yeah.
The Winnie from the Wonder Years. She became some math whiz, changing the way people do math or something like that. People move on, and then you got guys that are still schlocking around the same routine.
Yeah, man.
But when it's over, I guess it's over. But like we've said before, you make that call. You can't have other people make that call, and there's a lot of that going around.
There is a lot of that going around. Because being in a band, it's just not you. And sometimes people are responsible for your, we'll just call it success, right? Like, being in a band is hard, and being in a band is harder when somebody in the band isn't on the same page, because it just takes that one person to just kind of run your band off the rails because they just aren't into it anymore. So I get it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Again, you make the decision. When it's over, and that's okay, as long as you're content with it.
That's right.
That's it. And you could stop doing certain things in music, like touring. Maybe you don't want to tour anymore. You can always write and release music. You could just write music. I just played a show recently with a guy who's been in music for a long time. He stayed basically local, maybe just the edge of the regional. But he does it differently now. He's retired. He plays just a handful of shows every year, but he does it more for fun. He's revamps a lot of the songs that he did, like, say, 30 years ago and all. And he's got a small crowd that seems to enjoy him. And to him, that's good enough. Every so often he says, I'll write a new song or something like that. He goes, but I got enough material that I could just change it a little bit. Do this. He just plays acoustic guitar, but over the course of time, he added a violin player who also does backing vocals. And it gives him a different flair to the music. He's had a flute player. He's not looking for stardom. He's not looking to write and record the next big hit. He's just enjoying what he's doing without any of the stress to it.
Right.
And I'm going to quote, we're going to probably misquote, but Keith Roth from Sirius XM, he does Hair Nation, and he does Ozzy's Boneyard and does some other stuff. He plays with the Dictators now. He just released a solo album. Really nice guy. He had said one time, I was listening to him, and he said when he stopped giving a crap and stressing about it is when his career actually started taking off. And this is a guy who was in the mix with everybody and anybody in the area, right? But he said, once I stopped stressing about it, and again, I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember the exact quote, but once I stopped stressing about it and his career took off, and he's enjoying so much success. He's just loving it.
Yeah.
It's an amazing thing. So maybe that's what we need to learn when we go through the fires and we get to that point and say, you know what? It is what it is. Let me enjoy it for what it is. And then all these other things start happening. Who knows? I haven't gotten there 100% yet, so I'll let you know if it happens. What do you think, bud? You got anything else you want to add?
No, man. Nope. I do not. Season 7 coming to a close. See you in season 8.
There you go, baby. Thanks so much for listening, everyone, and keeping this show alive, because it's constantly cheering Chris on. Come on, Chris, we got to do this show. We got to do this show. So thank you so much. Again, you can catch us everywhere and anywhere, including Wild Dogs Radio on our syndicated, so you're hearing back episodes, but we're on every platform you can think of. We have select episodes on Rumble. You can catch our seasons on YouTube. We do it Facebook video of our latest episode a week after it goes live. So there's tons of them on there. And then all the other platforms that carry podcasts, Spotify and Google and Apple, and I don't even know what half of them are, but I know we're on there somewhere. So just do a search and you'll find it. So thanks so much for listening. We really do appreciate it. If you like this episode, check out some of our other episodes, because there are 7 seasons worth. at www.thecosmicvoice.com. Step into the Cosmickverse and fill that void. Thanks so much for listening. This is the Cosmick Voice. If you have a question, a topic idea, or something you want us to address, just contact us through our Facebook page at The Cosmick Voice. You can listen to The Cosmick Voice at Spotify, Breaker, Apple, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, and at thecosmickview.com. Check us out on Facebook at The Cosmick Voice.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. If you're hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode. And for that, Mick and I would like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And we hope you enjoyed this new episode. And if you did, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Also, feel free to let us know what topics you'd like to see covered in future episodes of The Cosmick Voice. And you can get in touch with us through thecosmickvoice.com and, of course, all of the Cosmick Voice social medias. Take care and be safe.
You're listening to The Cosmick Voice. Music, talk, and nothing but business.